right next to
Yeah,
Paul Revere, right?
absolutely. Well, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have been enjoying your podcast. I was born a musician, so
Okay.
that has really influenced my writing. And so we can, talk about whatever you think could be useful to you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll dive into all of it. So, first and foremost, I want to get into what one of the more tumultuous events that we've lived through in our lifetime, which was living through this pandemic. And about 4.5 years ago, 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out how we were going to get out of it and all the ramifications. How did you get through that time period and how did it change you?
I let me see, how do I start this? So, the pandemic took one of my dearest friends, and I almost lost another partner with the pandemic. So, emotionally, it was very difficult for me. And professionally, it was a boon
Yeah.
because I was isolated enough to write my most recent book, The Superpower of Balance, Leadership in Unbalanced Times, definitely unbalanced times, right? And it also I do most of my work like this. So I meet with people around the world. So there was not a blip for me in terms of my professional life. And as a matter of fact, I started getting people together. So I get all my clients together and we would have programs together like every week. And what that did for them was form community in this time of terrible isolation. And I have continued with that because what I find is most of the people I work with deal with isolation
Yeah.
in some way or other. Even if you're in the middle of a big company working, you often feel isolated. You often feel like you don't have community. And for most of your audience, which are musicians, you can multiply that by a factor of 10,
Yeah.
So they really need community.
It's interesting, as connected as we were during that time with all of our devices, it really honed in on that loneliness that we feel as humans. Because it's like music. You can listen to it on an album, but it isn't until you're in that room and feel that collective energy and the
Yes.
musicians are throwing it out at you that you feel the
Yes.
power of it.
I had a teacher by the name of Dominic Argento, and he wrote a Pulitzer Prize winning opera called The Mask of Angels, which came to him in this dream, he told me. And he always said that there were three people in a composition. There was the composer, there was the pianist or whoever was delivering it, and there was the audience.
Yeah.
And without any one of those three, there wasn't music.
Wow.
Isn't
That's
that
so true.
nice?
Yeah.
That beautiful? That's
Yeah.
from
It's
Dominic
true.
Argento. Yeah, great
Yeah.
guy.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. And one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
My answer is that I help people live what they were born to do. What is it that you were born to do? What is it that you already do well that maybe the kid sitting beside you doesn't do as well? And you just blow it off. You just say, well, that's easy. That's easy for me, but it's not easy for other people.
Yeah.
So, what we want you to do in your life is live your core purpose. What were you born to do?
So when you were in the third grade, what did you feel your core purpose was? What did you want to be?
Uh, I was definitely born a musician and a talker, I would guess, which turned into writing. And my writing is actually, I consider to be very musical. I do theme and variations. I'm a classically trained musician. I do theme and variations. So
Okay.
I have a series of books that's all about the superpower of balance. It's how people bring those third grade gifts into the world. And indeed, we know that people are born, their brains are encoded to do certain kinds of work. If you're a musician, good luck with becoming an accountant. You're not necessarily going to become an accountant unless that's another one of your gifts. We often have many gifts, but if you try to not be a musician, it's going to hurt your soul and you're going to be a pretty crappy accountant, right? Even though it pays better by
Yeah.
and large, right? Yeah. So this is what I do is I help people really own their gifts. And what happens is we know that there was a longitudinal study that said people's gifts show up when they are children, when they're in that kind of the third grade level, up through middle school. And they have those gifts that the girl sitting beside them doesn't have, but they don't see it as gifts.
Yeah.
But if they do, and they do that in their life, they will be happy, they will be successful. If they ignore that, they're going to be crabby and you don't want to be around them. Right. And they're not going to do as well.
Yeah. So let's go back to your childhood. Take me back to where you're born and raised. What were these foundational seeds of getting into music and helping people find their destiny?
Right. I was born here in the Boston area and in the Irish part of Brighton, which is part of Boston. And the story is told that when I was about 2 years old, I went up to the crib of my newly born sister, Irene, and I had heard my family members singing, "Good night, Irene, good night," that song. And in my little 2-year-old voice, I went over there, hoisted myself up on her crib and sang that to her.
Oh,
And as I say to people, it ain't Mozart, but it ain't bad.
yeah. Yeah.
It definitely showed the gift that that was natural to me.
So what was the instrument? What ultimately flowered into your musical career?
I let me see. I've always done music. I've always done piano music, and then later on, I started doing songwriting. And there was a point in my life when I was doing a lot of political organizing. I was running a group health plan. Before that, I ran a family planning center. So that speaking part of me, which became that writing part of me, was very, very, very active at that time. I would sing at the rallies. I would have my bands out there. I was doing the songwriting. So, sort of the revolutionary songwriter, from the South American sphere, all of those people. I knew all those songs. And so that became political action and the voice of revolution, the voice of evolution for that. And then I started doing pretty straight, organization work, which has morphed into today's work. But it was at the moment when my brother John died in a workplace accident that I split, that I decided I was stopping what I was doing, which was very, very successful as a director of a group health plan. I was the CEO of this plan and it was making money hand over fist. And who knew I was able to do that? But when John died, I decided that I was going to go on a journey. My whole family decided that they were going to go on journeys and they were going to change our lives. And I went back to looking at music, to writing music, and then into writing books. Both of those things started happening parallel. So I stepped out of the action orientation that I had and moved internally to let that come out again.
So what was the first live show that you ever saw, a live concert that blew you away, that made you think, this is something I want to do with my life, or you just felt moved?
Ah, I would say that it was almost in my home, visiting when we would visit the Irish relatives here, and they would be singing. Those were really my first concerts. We would go to sleep. Interestingly, we would go to sleep to the talk of politics, which has become my life, and to the songs about politics that carried the movement forward. Those were, I would say, my very first concerts.
So who's been a hero for you? Who's been an inspiration for you in your life?
Wow, I have so many of them. I would say, well, I'm very inspired at the moment by politics. So I'm a for any listener, I am a rabid Democrat. And
Good.
so I am inspired at this moment by this surge of hope and
Yep.
from Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Yep.
I'm inspired by that because boy, people were really, 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 really depressed for a really, really, really long time. And it has affected people in their work, and it has affected people in how they act in community, and it has affected people in just every aspect of their life. So I'm very inspired by that. I'm inspired by anyone who lifts other people up. That has been my attempt at life story. When I ran the family planning center, we were trying to get people out of poverty. When I ran the group health center, we were trying to get people in decent health care and get them the care they needed, whether or not it was available. So when people are helping to uplift others, they are singing my song.
Yeah. A
And it
re-
is it is back to the revolutionary songs of Ireland or South America or these others and I think I call myself the Che Guevara of career coaching, because I want people to push back. I want
Yeah.
people to use their gifts and push back on what is repressing them. And who knows that more than musicians? How do you push back on a world that doesn't really care that you have these gifts?
And the thing is, right now, going through COVID and this weird political environment that we're in right now, this is the Bob Dylan moment. There's so many moments where creativity can come out and be a voice in this era of things that have changed so drastically. I mean, there used to be a level of politics that had some level of amiability and people weren't losing their minds, and we've just entered and we know why, but at the same time it's still very weird, and the kids of this world right now are watching this, and it's just, we've always tried as adults, I think, in politics to dissuade the playground antics, but it certainly
Mm.
is taken center stage in this modern era.
Right. It is a form of immaturity that is almost aggressive immaturity. Let's put it that way. Yeah, damn it, I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it. You know, when a 2-year-old just
Uh-huh.
does this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have lived through very aggressive death-defying politics. When I ran the Family Planning Center, I had death threats. I
Yeah.
had death threats, plural.
Yeah.
And so I know these people, I know their fears, I know how right they feel. And we on the other side feel similarly, but it is desperately needed. The time of hope is also that we talk to each other. Have you noticed how that is starting to shift? We are actually talking to each other.
Yep.
We're actually not blaming the other person. We're actually not calling them stupid for their beliefs. We are caught in this historical cycle, a purging in some way of the toxins that have always been
Yes.
inside of
And,
this country. And this is the moment when we can say, okay, let's do this together.
yep. Well put. I think this is our moment, our democracy, to say that we don't ever want this again, and to
Amen,
ensure that we
brother.
won't.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And to do our work. I mean, we are responsible for what has happened here. We
Yeah.
are part of this process. We joined in. This isn't an accident that we are here at this time having to deal with this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is a great moment for learning and a great moment for evolving, a great moment for musicians to come out and sing about the time, and poets to write about that time. Is it Gorman, the poet who spoke in the inauguration and then at the DNC again?
Yeah.
Mercy,
Uh-huh.
mercy, what
Yeah.
a poet,
I know.
So, and the way the musicians took over the DNC in terms of the roll call, that has never been seen again. So the hope lets us be creative again.
Yep. Certainly does. Certainly does. So let me ask you this. If you could meet anybody alive right now on the planet that you find fascinating or inspirational, who would it be?
Oh, boy, that they're all trying to crowd in here.
You could
I
round table it.
I can roundtable. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
I would definitely include the Dalai Lama. I would
Yep.
certainly want Kamala and Tim there. I would certainly want some of the some of the scientists who are out there. Neil
DeGrasse Tyson.
Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely want him at the table. It's those are some that I think I
Yeah.
would like at my round table. Yeah.
So what is it for you? At the end of the day, you're a human being and you have to evolve and you have to hold enough gas back for you, but you also have to give a lot of yourself to help others. What is that combined motivation for you every day to wake up to do this work and to evolve as a human?
I am one of the luckiest people on the planet. I have clients that I adore and who are stars. And not as much as I help them, they are also lifting me up. So we're in this very sort of virtuous cycle thing where we are learning together as a community, and we're trying to change organizations, and we're trying to change the way we work, the way we live with other people, how we help other people out. So at the end of the day, what happens is I get my tank refilled by working with my clients, and then we make this progress and we go, ooh, we're all excited. And then we go on to the next thing. And because I've built this community during COVID, coming back to one of your original questions, it's kind of like the inverse of I created a monster. I've created this wonderful thing that's moving on its own. and everyone is helping everybody else. I marvel, I look at it. I think we're ready for these evolutionary systems that are independent, where people are really reaching out to help each other, wanting to do that, finding juice in it for themselves also.
So do you feel like coming out of this this pandemic and going into an election cycle and everything that's happening, that we're hitting a new level of enlightenment as
We
humans?
are definitely, I would take money to the bank on that. I mean, this is definitely part of that purging, part of our lesson learning, part of our getting our act together, part of our taking responsibility. We helped create this. We need to help uncreate it. All of those things are happening. And you just think of what a horrible medieval kind of cleansing of the earth happened through COVID. It was just awful, and it touched all of us in so many ways. And, we brought this on. I mean, in terms of our environmental irresponsibility, in terms of all of these things, we contributed to it. I contributed to it. So I have to take my responsibility now for changing it. And yes, 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 as I write in my books, we are at a turning point. We're at an in between.
Yeah.
The ancients talked about an in between, where there's the old world and then there's the new world, and there's this hallway in between we're traveling, and no one tells you that it can be hell when you're in the middle of this. And we are feeling that stretching, and we're feeling that discomfort, and it's called growing pains.
Yeah. So when you look on your professional career, your timeline, what was the time, the moment, the year, the month that you grew the most? Maybe it was grueling, but you got to the end of it and you were like, wow, that's why this happened.
Yeah, I would say my brother's death,
Yeah.
John's death, was the one that uh it was like the earth split
Yeah.
between the before and the after time. And literally everyone in my family changed career in some way or other. I went on my journey. My brothers did, my sister did, everybody did something that that we felt, I guess, forced to do, or that opened us up to do, or that John brought us to do.
So
So that was, I think that was the split, and that was when I split professionally also.
so all of us have a purpose in this life, and obviously your brother had a purpose. Did you have a sense that that's his purpose? Is that how you've kind of compartmentalized his loss and what he did?
No, no, I would say that John chose to pass when he did. That's my belief system. No one has to believe what I believe, but John came to me when he died, right after he died. And it was it was the middle of the night. I didn't so much see him as I heard him speak. And he said that he was going and that he had just passed. And I said, why didn't you talk to me about that? And he said, because you would have talked me out of it. I was the big sister. I would have tried to talk him out of leaving. Absolutely. He was so right. And he said he was just so happy now. He was so free. He has never had experienced happiness like this, and he was moving on.
Wow.
So he didn't do this for us, but because he did it, because he chose to leave at that time, we had to face our own things. Like, we're
Yeah.
all now facing our what is it that is ours to do.
Yeah.
And my particular core purpose is to heal, as an Irish seer told me once. Your job is to heal on a grand scale. And what I do is heal groups of people, but I give them self-healing techniques. I'm not doing it pizzazz. I
Yeah.
give them self-healing techniques that they then can use.
So of everything that you've done and evolved into in your life up to this point and accomplished, what are you the proudest of?
I'm the proudest of and most aware of my need for self-evolution. That it's vital for me to do the work that I propose in the world. I have to, eat my own medicine, eat my own dog food, I guess they call it in the army. I have to eat I have to eat what I create. And I am proud and dedicated to doing that. My life is the work. See, and the more I do it, the more I help other people do it. So if I'm going just a half a step ahead,
Yeah.
then I can help the people who are that half step behind me.
So as a writer, and as a musician, what was the seminal album and book for you that really made you grow, that really kind of brought you to a higher place of both literature and music in your life?
I would say the book, The Balancing Act, which was the beginning of the Superpower Balance series. That was the book in which I kind of drew the line in the sand and said, this is the work.
Yeah.
This is the work. These are the 6 powers that every human being has. And this is, and I'll do theme and variation with different books about how we apply it to our lives and our work. So I would say that that is it. And then from the music standpoint, I wrote a 2-act play called Acts of God. And it was about a major breakdown that I had in a relationship, and lots of songs for eternity have come out of those moments. And so that is actually the story of the female heroine who moves through the 12 stages of the hero's journey in the way that women tend to move through the hero's journey. So I would say that that was the landmark work for me in music.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of your readers, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am a student of life. I observe the truths I see, I take them in, I try to translate them, but always I'm on alert as a student of what's happening around me. The circumstances, like the political circumstances we talked about, are teaching me how I need to evolve. I listen to music. It teaches me who I want to be in my essence. I I walk on the beach here and play with the children. It teaches me how to be alive. So in every moment, I'm trying to become a student.
Yeah. So if you could meet one musician alive right now on the planet and even watch how they make the music and how they operate, who would you love to be a fly on the wall and see how that happens?
Yo-Yo Ma.
Okay. Are you a fan of Enya?
Yes. Oh God. Yes, absolutely. She's
Yeah,
phenomenal. I
I would
mean,
love to see how she does it.
I would love to see that too. She is a mystic. She's from
Yeah,
the Irish tradition of mysticism, and boy, she just brings that into her music. It just flows. It just like comes in here and goes out there through
yeah,
her as a slight filter and changing it. So she definitely speaks with the gods. This one definitely
yeah.
does.
So it's funny with Yo-Yo Ma. So jazz is embraced in Kansas City. It's one of the original cradles.
Oh,
And
absolutely. As
yeah,
in, here I come, right?
exactly, exactly. So we have shows and people come out and all of that, but there was a show this summer and there was all these people. It was an outdoor venue off 18th and Vine behind the American Jazz Museum. And I was like, what is going on? Yo-Yo Ma came and played a free show and everybody showed up. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
The reason I said him first is he is very human, very practical, very accessible, just a friendly kind of guy. And
Yeah.
he loves his music. He
Yep.
spills over with love for his music. And that is a trait I like very much in musician, writer, human being. I just love that. Oh, that,
Yep.
and he uplifts people all around him.
Absolutely
So
he does.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
Enya has the mystic thing
Oh
covered.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's not to love, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So if anyone wants to hire you, pick up your books, look into your music, any of the good business, where do they go?
They go to corecoachingconsulting.com.
Okay.
Core, yeah, CORE, coachingconsulting.com. And you can get free reports of all kinds if you want to go into, if you're in a career transition, click on the free report. If you're wanting to do new leadership, there's a free leadership report. Just click on those free reports. Lots of blogs and everything so people can, again, get these self-help tools that I want them to have to do their
Yeah.
lives. And if they want to go on LinkedIn, they just spell my name correctly with Sharon and then Seivert, S-E-I.
Okay.
Be like Victor Yarchi, that's my dad's contribution, the German thing. So, and LinkedIn, I love meeting people from around the world. I just love it. It is, again, helps me as a student to understand what's going on.
Excellent. Sharon, this has been delightful. Thank you so much. It's so great to meet you. Thank you for your story. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Very good to meet you, Joe, and to hang out and see your visual art and
Yes.
to talk about all these wonderful things. So we'll talk to you soon. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye bye.